Have you ever felt the cold bite of dismissal, like Caesar crossing the Rubicon only to be cast aside by those he served, where the whisper of wind through empty halls carries the sour tang of unappreciated sacrifice, and the flickering candlelight reveals shadows of a fractured identity yearning for rebirth? The Banished Court Magician Aims to become the strongest episode. One immerses us in that crucible of rejection and resolve, where the scent of ancient tomes mingles with the metallic edge of sharpened ambition, the touch of discarded robes like velvet ghosts against skin chilled by betrayal. Released on October 4, 2025, as the bold premiere of this fall fantasy adaptation from Aalto's light novel, it inaugurates an arc of exiled ascent, bridging humble origins to defiant horizons. I personally was struck by its simmering intrigue, a narrative that envelopes you in the hush of a royal chamber, the distant clang of swords echoing like unresolved symphonies, leaving you to taste the ashes of overlooked genius. But what if banishment is the forge of true power? Don't you long to wander those shadowed paths yourself, pulse quickening, to unravel how one man's eclipse births an unbreakable dawn? Episode 1 unveils a realm where magic defines destiny, akin to Merlin's shadowed council in Arthurian legends, introducing Alec Ugritte as he rises from tutelage under a wise mentor to serve in the Crown Prince's dungeon-conquering party, only to face a shattering expulsion that echoes the exile of Dante from Florence. With no preceding episodes, this opener establishes the sting of undervaluation, transitioning from loyal service to solitary reinvention through chance encounters that promise new alliances. Imagine standing in that opulent court, the air thick with incense and intrigue, velvet curtains swaying like veils over hidden motives as verdicts fall, yet sparks of opportunity ignite amid the fallout. What latent might does Alec harbor beyond his supportive spells? The episode dangles that enigma, curiosity swelling like a tide, compelling you to behold if rejection's wound heals into unparalleled strength. Episode 1 advances the narrative with purposeful stride, laying the groundwork for Alec's transformation from auxiliary mage to independent force, punctuated by a betrayal twist that propels him into exile and a cliffhanger alliance hinting at future conquests. Revelations spotlight his support magic's overlooked potency, while pacing weaves deliberate buildup in courtly tensions with swift action and departures, striking dramatic balance akin to a well-orchestrated opera. Fans often query cloudy aspects like the prince's abrupt banishment. Why discard a vital asset so callously? And Alec's post-exile survival strategy. Referencing the light novel Volume 1, this ambiguity is strategic. The prince's decision stems from political maneuvering and jealousy over Alec's subtle influence, viewing support magic as weak despite its dungeon-clearing efficacy, providing context that Alec's exile unlocks self-application of buffs, evolving him into a versatile powerhouse. The manga further clarifies his mentor Elda's warnings as foreshadowing systemic undervaluation, enriching the anime's segment by framing banishment not as end but catalyst for solo growth and party reformation. Alec Ugritte unfolds with profound depth, his hidden wounds, echoes of unacknowledged devotion like the unsung labors of Hephaestus, motivating a shift from selfless support to self-empowerment, his choices consistent in humility yet surprising in resilient adaptation. The Crown Prince embodies entitled short-sightedness, his dialogues transformative in revealing cracks of insecurity. New companions like Yora introduce layered motivations of loyalty and curiosity. Were these evolutions consistent? Yes, yet they surprise in how Alec's quiet resolve transforms dialogue from subservience to assertion, peeling emotional strata like layers of an ancient scroll. Profound inquiries emerge. What if power's truest form lies in the shadows of support, akin to Lao Tzu's water-yielding yet eroding stone, where morality grapples with sacrifice in service's name? Themes manifest in Alec's struggles. His exile questions survival's cost, balancing despair's void with hope's ember through reinvented purpose, echoing existential choices in Camus' myth of Sisyphus. These burrow into decisions, like Alec's pivot from courtly chains, inviting reflection. Haven't you sacrificed unseen, teetering between resignation and rebellion's fire? Fresh lore introduces a dungeon-riddled kingdom where magic types dictate hierarchy, enriching the universe with cultural norms of conquest and prejudice against auxiliary roles, complicating alliances without convolution. Much like feudal Europe's guild stratifications, adding narrative depth, the script wields poetic precision, sharp as Excalibur's edge. Lines of dismissal carry the venom of Iago's whispers, foreshadowing arcs while lingering like echoes in a vaulted hall. Impactful and cliché-sparse, dialogues evoke the poignant farewells of Les Miserables, as if you're cloaked in that courtroom shadows, words weighted with fate. Doesn't their resonance stir a suspense that demands your presence? Animation from Yokohama Animation Lab and Cielo de RTS flows with elegant fluidity, art direction contrasting regal golds with Exile's muted earth tones, where lighting casts elongated shadows symbolizing suppressed potential, not mere splendor, but a visual allegory for overlooked brilliance. Stillness in confrontations yields to dynamic spell movements, shaping emotional gravity. Direction employs overhead angles to dwarf Alec in courtly oppression, compositions framing him against vast landscapes like a lone wanderer in Lawrence of Arabia, editing rhythms swelling to amplify isolation's tension. The soundtrack haunts as the ethereal narrator, motifs of somber strings elevating departures, crescendos imprinting revelations, silences and verdicts bellowing louder than decrees. Voice acting gleams. Shuichiro Yumida's Alec conveys with tremulous timbre, embodying a soul's quiet forge. Masaaki Mizunaka's Prince infuses haughty intensity, a velvet storm raging beneath. This episode evoked a poignant surge of indignation laced with inspiration, sparking wonder at redemption's alchemy while scarring with betrayal's chill, like witnessing the fall of Troy from Achilles' vantage. Moments of severance etching deep. The pivotal clash unfolds as destinies diverge, a breaking point where subservience shatters into sovereignty, altering trajectories irrevocably, reminiscent of the Rubicon's crossing in historical epics. It links to eternal queries. How do we reclaim identity from sacrifice's ashes, like phoenixes in mythic flames? I felt the court's oppressive weight on my shoulders, the echo of a banished cry in my ears, bearing Alec's scars as my own. Reader, haven't you savored that bitter wind of dismissal, wounds of untapped essence craving release? Through reverse reading, potential flaws like abrupt pacing in exile, mirroring fan notes on rushed transitions, reframe as intentional jolts, mirroring betrayal's shock to heighten thematic impact. Complexity in magic lore may opaque initially, but fosters immersion. I didn't like sparse backstory visuals, yet they underscore Alec's internal journey. Balanced, the episode's emotional hooks eclipse minor opacities, crafting a compelling fantasy tapestry. Episode 1 masters thematic introspection, character empathy, and visual poetry, though adaptation brevity tempers depth, succeeding as an enthralling gateway, igniting Exile's odyssey with narrative fire. I anticipate its spells weaving ever tighter. But as shadows swallow the banished, can you evade the call of reinvention, sensing your own latent magic stir? Watching isn't elective, it's the inexorable stride into your veiled strength, where exile beckons as destiny's dawn. What if the chains that bound you were not forged by enemies, but by the very allies you lifted from the mud, echoing the tragic fall of Caesar, betrayed by his senate, or the quiet rage of a soldier in the trenches of Verdun, where loyalty turned to ash in the wind? In episode 2 of The Banished Court Magician Aims to Become the Strongest, released on October 11, 2025, we plunge deeper into Alec Ugritt's fractured world, a mere heartbeat after his brutal exile in the premiere. Imagine the metallic tang of blood on your tongue, the chill of fog-shrouded streets pressing against your skin, as Alec wanders into a new dawn, not broken, but simmering, like a storm cloud pregnant with thunder. This installment whispers promises of rebirth, yet leaves you grasping at shadows. What hidden fire lurks in a man who smiles through his scars? You feel the cobblestones underfoot, the distant clamor of a tavern pulling you in, but the full truth? It beckons like a siren's call, urging you to witness it unfold, to step into the arena yourself and unravel the enigma, building on the premiere's sting of betrayal, where Alec, the unsung pillar of the Crown Prince's party, was cast aside for his mere support magic. This episode thrusts him into the gritty underbelly of adventurer life, much like a disgraced knight-errant in Arthurian tales, seeking redemption amid the ruins. Alec arrives in a bustling frontier town, his footsteps heavy with the ghosts of royal constraints, only to be drawn into a barroom brawl that masks a trial of worth. He forges alliances with echoes from his past, delving into a labyrinthine dungeon where foes swarm like the hordes at Thermopylae, each clash a pulse of escalating peril. The narrative arcs toward a breathless standoff, suspending you in that frozen moment before the blade falls. Think of the tension in The Lord of the Rings when the Fellowship first gazes into Moria's depths. But why does Alec hold back his fury, even as shadows of his true power flicker? The answers tease at the edges, pulling you closer, compelling you to chase the light, to live the quest and claim the revelations that words alone cannot capture. Diving into the plot sinews, this episode propels the narrative from exile's despair to the forge of ambition, much like Odysseus charting his odyssey after Troy's fall. Key revelations peel back layers. Alec's 4-year court tenure was no honor but a gilded cage, imposed by royal edicts that muzzled his versatility. Rules forbidding him to eclipse the prince, breeding habits of self-doubt that now rust his instincts. The twist arrives in a grueling test against the guildmaster, Leviel, where Alec unleashes magic whispers of royal exclusivity, hinting at depths fans often puzzle over. Is his support magic truly auxiliary, or the symphony conducting all others? Pacing hurdles forward, chaotic yet balanced, blending exposition with visceral action. No languid moping, but a sprint toward dungeon conquest, shattering records and ending on a cliffhanger confrontation with a hulking hulking goblin lord, its roar echoing like the beast in Beowulf. Dramatic equilibrium holds, with highs of camaraderie offsetting introspective lows. Addressing those cloudy aspects buzzing in fan forums. Why Alex's passivity? Why no immediate vengeance? The light novel source, Volume 1, chapters roughly aligning with this arc, illuminates. Alex's magic isn't just support, it's the foundational everything, amplifying allies to godlike levels while he bore the unseen burden. His restraint stems from conditioned trauma, a psychological shackle from years of gaslighting, where the prince's party thrived on his invisible crutches. Manga adaptations echo this, clarifying that without him, they falter, foreshadowing karmic reckonings. This context transforms ambiguity into deliberate buildup, enriching the animated slice without spoiling the feast. Character arcs pulse with raw psychology, exposing wounds that bleed like those of Hamlet, torn between inaction and eruption. Alec emerges as a vessel of hidden fractures, his perpetual smile a mask over emotional atrophy, motivations rooted in survival's quiet desperation, yet sprouting toward transformative growth. His choices surprise in their subtlety. No bombastic rage, but a dawning realization of self-worth, consistent with his abused psyche, yet hinting at a Chad-like evolution, as if shedding the skin of a corporate drone liberated from a toxic job. Supporting figures shine brighter. Ornest, the fiery childhood comrade, channels unbridled loyalty and vengeance, ready to storm the palace like a revolutionary in Les Miserables. Yora offers serene wisdom, a calming anchor. Krasia, with her tsundra barbs, injects spark, their bickering a lively dance of old bonds. Their growth manifests in seamless synergy, revealing Alex's past as Academy elite, now reclaiming lost fire. Dialogue snaps with authenticity, like friends reuniting after war, each line carrying the weight of unspoken history. Thematically, the episode probes the marrow of power's illusion and morality's edge, manifesting not as abstract sermons but in visceral choices. Alex support magic mirrors life's unsung heroes, the backstage crew in a Broadway triumph, or the codebreakers of Bletchley Park, whose quiet genius won wars. Sacrifice versus self-assertion clashes in his internal storm, hope battling despair as he weighs revenge's poison against healing's balm, evoking philosophical echoes of Nietzsche's will to power. Survival demands moral ambiguity. Is strength in domination or elevation? World building enriches this tapestry, unveiling guild hierarchies, dungeon ecosystems teeming with goblin hordes, and magic lore where support spells weave into offensive symphonies, complicating the universe like layers in Dungeons and Dragons campaigns. New rules on royal exclusive incantations add intrigue, hinting at broader conspiracies. Dialogue carves with precision, sharp and impactful, though occasionally veering into cliché territory. Lines like Ornest's rallying cries resonate post-credits, foreshadowing royal groveling, much like vows in Game of Thrones that linger in the mind's ear. Yet, in moments of stillness, they evoke the poetry of a samurai's haiku, binding you to the scene. Feel the tavern's smoky haze stinging your eyes, hear the clink of mugs as secrets spill, taste the bitter ale of unresolved grudges. What words would you utter in Alex's place, facing the mirror of your own betrayals? This immersion builds suspense, each phrase a thread pulling you deeper, igniting curiosity. Will these vows shatter empires, or merely hearts? Visually, the animation pulses with purposeful fluidity, art direction employing shadowy palettes, deep indigos and flickering torchlight, to symbolize Alex's inner eclipse, much like the chiaroscuro in Blade Runner that amplifies isolation. Symbolism abounds. Stillness in reflective moments contrasts explosive movement in battles, colors shifting from muted grays of doubt to vibrant crimsons of awakening, shaping emotional crescendos where beauty signifies rebirth's pain. Direction wields camera angles like a maestro, low shots during the guildmaster duel to convey overwhelming pressure, rapid edits mirroring tension's rhythm, composing shots that amplify vulnerability, as if you're crouched in the fray, dodging spells that singe the air. The soundtrack haunts like a spectral companion, its motifs, subtle strings swelling to thunderous percussion, elevating clashes, burning into memory like John Williams' leitmotifs in Star Wars. Silence roars in pivotal revelations, louder than any fanfare, underscoring isolation's void. Voice acting embodies souls. Shuichiro Yumida's Alec delivers with a tremulous timbre, his inflections trembling with suppressed fire, capturing the character's fractured essence. Supporting Siyu infuse energy, their intensities making dialogues throb with life, drawing you into the chorus of voices as if whispering in your ear. Emotionally, this episode scars with betrayal's aftertaste while sparking wonder at camaraderie's warmth. Imagine the gut-wrench of a friend's embrace after years of solitude, or the spark of defiance igniting in your chest, akin to the euphoria in Rocky's training montages. Pivotal moments collide like destinies in a Greek tragedy, shifting paradigms without mercy, leaving you pondering. What burdens do we carry unknowingly, and what strength blooms from their release. I felt a visceral ache for Alec's unspoken pains, a surge of anticipation for his ascent, echoes that linger like unanswered prayers in the night. Yet, employing a reverse lens, perceived flaws reveal intent. The chaotic pacing, often critiqued as rushed, mirrors trauma's disorientation, a stylistic choice evoking life's abrupt turns, like the frenzy of Pearl Harbor's dawn. Generic tropes, reframed as deliberate homages, grounding the fantastical in relatable struggles, though opacity in motivations risks alienating, balanced by the episode's emotional authenticity. The odd party name Lasting Period draws chuckles, perhaps a translation quirk adding unintended levity, but it underscores the story's human quirks amid grandeur and summation. Episode 2 triumphs in dynamic party bonds and thematic resonance.